You're listening to the SojuTalk Nation Podcast, episode 11. On today's show, I'm joined by Therese to talk about this week in music and state of the nation. So sit back and chill with friends. You're listening to the after show with the SojuTalk Nation. Welcome to the SojuTalk Nation Podcast, a chill discussion on this week in the SojuTalk Nation. We're recording on Wednesday, March 24, 2021. I'm your host, Crispy, and sadly today, we are not joined by Koala. She has academic responsibilities this week with school, so instead, I'm joined by a very special guest, a member of the nation, the Thirst Queen herself, Therese. Hello, Therese. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hi.
So
Hi.
this time you are going to be on for the entire hour plus of the show, going over songs and, talking about things about the SojuTalk Nation. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm pumped.
You feeling good? Feeling like a morning show, that morning show energy?
Oh, yeah. Lots of energy.
So starting off the show, as always, we'd like to celebrate the nation with a few birthdays. Well, one birthday on March 28th. That would be Sunday. We have Max. So our UK mod. We've known Max for a minute. He's been around. Sometimes he's very active. Sometimes he's very busy with school. But we do like his blunt nature and his
Englishness.
Englishness. We'll leave it at that. His Englishness. Yes, he has a
Happy birthday, Max.
happy birthday, Max. He has a very smooth ASMR voice. So if you ever catch him on Discord and get him on voice chat, listen to his voice because it's very unique. It's very special in that sense. All right, so going right into the music this week, we have four brand new songs for the Soju chart. The first one is Super Junior with House Party. Then we have Weeekly with After School, Jessie with What Type of X, and BI with Midnight Blue. So we have Therese on this week, and no, let's have you start things off, Therese. What are your thoughts about how the crew discussed Super Junior's House Party?
I thought it was interesting because when I first heard the song, I was like, oh man, this is a great song. But of course, they do discuss that trap breakdown. And it's always fun to hear Warren talk about music, at least to me, especially since I usually agree with him. But I thought it was interesting that he brought up, someone said the trap breakdown was kind of making fun of other trap breakdowns. But to me, I just don't think you can listen to music ironically. And actually, I did some research because I was curious, like, what that section was about. And I read the lyrics translated, and I think it's more of like a warning. Like the lyrics are basically stuck at home. It is dangerous outside for the time being. Nevertheless, you act out and then you get caught. No words are needed. Put your excuses aside. You waved off others trying to live only for yourself. Like it gets pretty, it's calling people out. So I think it's fine. But I agree with them that it wasn't the best title track.
Yeah, it's just like building off of the trap breakdown part, because I feel like that was the part that stood out the most for the song. Because initially we get a song that's very retro, in the vibe of the current trends. And then all of a sudden it's a switch. To me, it felt like a meme also. Especially with
I don't
Heechul.
think it was meant to be a meme. But I really like the rest of the song. It's a very Super Junior fun song. It's just confusing.
Yeah, I think confusing is the best way to put it, because you do get a very specific vibe and feel from the intro and just the initial way the song's presented to us, right? With everything from the choreo and the colors and the way that the camera's kind of focused on the different members. And then there's the switch up.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not intended to be a meme, but because of what Heechul has been doing with Variety and his rap storyline across his different shows, it did come off kind of memey. And then with what you said about the lyrics, how it's very aggressively telling people like, yo, like, pandemic's still a thing, relax, stay inside. But I do feel like there's a tongue-in-cheek nature to the fact that like he made that rap section, well, at least his portion of it was so aggressive along with the lyrics. It's like, oh, this is supposed to be a joke, but also pay attention to what we have to say. Do you feel like if you're a native Korean speaker, you would interpret that in a different way than how we would interpret it through translation?
Yeah, I think maybe there's some joke in there that we're not getting, or like I don't really know Heechul from variety shows, and if this was kind of in lieu with what he was doing, I didn't get it as a general listener. And I feel like that's what title tracks are meant to be, right? It's presenting the group to the general listener. So it was just interesting. I also think if you're going to joke about anything, I don't think anyone's joking about COVID right now. So
I mean, yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that. And then just just with like the seriousness of COVID, but again, like there might be some, I guess, cultural like differentiation of like how they joke about things, right? It's not necessarily like a direct joke,
True.
but it's just like a joke, but we're serious kind of thing. And
I just imagine everyone's pretty fatigued by now.
Yeah. This is the way to keep spirits up. It just happened with a very confusing song because it does feel like there are two songs present.
Right.
It's just like, and what Warren said about kind of the use of trap and the use of the retro. Do you feel like, well, you said you agree with Warren. So what were some other things about what Warren had said that stood out to you?
I think I just generally agree with him. I don't know about specifically this song. Um, Maybe I think it was good that he pointed out they had trouble with the song because they delayed it, I think. And there's a good reason for that because they didn't know what they were doing with it.
It does feel that way. It really does.
Or maybe they just listened to it so many times that they got, deaf to the switch up.
Yeah, I mean, it could also just be one of those where you're working on a project so closely that you don't have, I guess, a sense to zoom out, and that your feeling about a song
Right.
is vastly different than how it's going to be received. Because I'm sure, like, in the moment of them like listening to the song, working on the song, they're like, all right, these two sounds go great together. And then all of a sudden they release it to everyone else. It's like, well, we haven't been listening to this song for like 8 hours, 10 hours a day, so we don't know like how it's supposed to progress. And I always
Yeah.
think that's an interesting perspective from like the general audience. Like you said, like we are listening to the song one time for the first time. It's like, this is what it's going to sound like to us. Any closing thoughts about just the song in general? The guys and the fact that, they are one of the OG groups, and, a lot of them are known for variety, but them going back into music for the new generation of like kids. How do you feel like that dynamic works?
Appreciate them attempting to enter the current trend market because I like when old groups try to stay relevant.
Yeah, and I
I don't
think
think it's entirely cringy.
yeah, same. I think it also speaks to just Korean entertainment in general. Unfortunately, leaning more heavily toward male artists and their ability to, I guess, maintain a relevance. But I think with like a comparison, obviously, to Western culture, you can do something like this in Korea. You can have male groups, be relevant for literally decades. So I think it's a nice moment for them, and it'll be interesting how they find their way into the younger generation through the different sources of media right now. So yeah, well done, Super Junior. Hope to see more of you, and yeah, check out variety shows, Therese. Heechel's really funny on a lot of the things he's on. He plays essentially the same character, and I think that's where he's focusing a lot of his energy right now, because like they said, I think he is still either working through or may not be able to dance the same way anymore. So I mean, it's an unfortunate consequence of just years of entertainment, but he's still funny. He's still got a place in entertainment. So moving on to the next song this week, I think this is probably the most anticipated song of the week with the highest approval rate on the nation.
Oh yeah, I was really surprised when the Herald Homies were rating all of their songs, and almost everyone had put Weeekly as number one.
Right? It's amazing. So we have Weeekly with After School. This is the third title track from the group. They debuted last year. You know what? This is let's just start at the top. Doug has this as a top 3 song of 2021. I think that's a big statement.
I mean, it definitely fits him.
Yeah.
The way he's been trending.
Yeah. What do you just think overall with Doug putting the song in his top 3, and how this contrasts a lot of the current trends in girl groups?
I think it is doing something different, because they mentioned this is kind of referring to old school bubblegum, and I think this is definitely a more modern take on bubblegum, which people have been missing. Especially with the break of girl crush concept stuff. So I'm pretty happy for them that it seems like they've achieved what they wanted to with this song.
Musically, how did this song hit you?
Personally, I'm not a huge fan of bubblegum. So it's it definitely gets stuck in your head after the third listen, exactly like the crew said. But I think I would still skip it unless I was feeling like I wanted to listen to bubblegum. I think Weeekly is definitely my first choice for that, especially with their other songs, Tag Me, and what was their other one?
Zigzag.
Zigzag, yeah.
I am a daily. I know these things.
Daily.
I think what you said was interesting in that you now associate Weeekly with bubblegum in the current era of music, which I think is a really big statement and a really big accomplishment for them, because of so many girl groups either going edgy or girl crush or just a very different line from bubblegum, and that it's so unique that Weeekly's able to do it, but also just do it well. Right. And I think that's going to at least set them up to be like the standout for this sound of music. Perhaps even to next year. But I think just for the current era right now, this is what you associate bubblegum. And I think it's a positive association. I think it's a great way for people to get a different type of sound and a different entry point into K-pop. And I think what they said about this is nostalgic to 2016. It doesn't feel like 2016 was very far back, but I mean it was 5 years, and you just the way that the landscape has changed. I think it's a nice reminder of a lot of the entry point for a lot of people with K-pop, and that this type of sound was the dominant sound, right? It was the sound that everyone was most familiar with. What did you think about Warren's the way Warren baited us into his reaction and review of the song? 'Cause I thought that was classic.
The way he baited it?
Or he said, "I do not think very highly about the songs this week."
Oh, oh yeah. He definitely got me.
I was waiting for it. I was like, oh, he's gonna shit on Weeekly.
Yeah.
Great.
He's about to have everyone hate him again. No. I'm really glad he liked it.
Yeah, and he flipped on it. Do you feel like I mean, you just said that you like the way he talks about music. Were you thinking about trap when he mentioned the song has a lot of prototypical trap sounds?
I thought there was something different about the song because when I heard everyone else say bubblegum before I even heard the song, I thought there would be more, you know, happy sort of vibey beats, but this was a little lower. I don't know how else to describe it, but when he was explaining that this was basically bubblegum trap, it all sort of fit together. And I think it's interesting, especially for girl groups. They pretty much used to have just like one sort of flavor in the past, and they've developed a sort of spectrum between like Blackpink to Twice. And I think this isn't like groundbreaking. I think it still falls on that spectrum, but in a very nice way.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I think it's a nice. It does fall on the spectrum of bubblegum, and I think it does enough to differentiate itself from the rest of the current genres of music, or the current female artists, girl groups, who are doing a similar sound, but still like, oh, this is distinctly Weeekly. Final question. What is your favorite day of the week with reference to Weeekly?
Okay, hold on. I gotta look up.
Nope,
which
you're just gonna tell
which.
me. You're just gonna tell me. You're gonna tell me, and we're gonna land on it. We're doing it this way.
Okay, my favorite day of the week is usually Thursday.
I think you selected correctly. So I think I am a Thursday stan. I am a Thursday bias, and that is Soen. I like her a lot. She is a great dancer. She covered Naughty with another member. I forgot who it is. I think it was Monday. I'm sorry, dailies, if I got that wrong. But so she's one of the main dancers of the group. I think we have a lot of Jihan fans. Jihan is, what day of the week is she? She is Tuesday, and then we have a lot of Ji-yoon friends, and Ji-yoon fans. Wow, that was hard to say. She is Wednesday. And then we do have a few Monday fans. So, there are 7 numbers, 7 days of the week. If you're a daily, if you're a weekly, a new Weeekly fan, I'm sure you'll be able to find the day that best fits you. All right. So then moving on to something that is very different from bubblegum. Something that's in her own vibe. We have Jessie with What Type of X? Okay. Warren didn't feel very positively about this song. But
I was going to point out for the Weekly,
go ahead.
When Anita said this is a very much best friends forever music video, that spoke to me.
Did that just like make you remember everything about high school, all the good times?
I definitely think their music video was so great.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
No, you're
Jessie.
Great. Yeah. So we have Jessie. What Type of X? And Warren had a lot of very strong feelings about this song, this music video, this concept. How did you respond to the way that Warren felt about this?
I don't know if I expected any different. When I first heard this song, I kind of felt like he would hate it immediately. But that's just him. That's just, how he views certain things. So, my opinion, it's not like a bad song. It's just a little forgettable on first listen. The only reason I've come to like it is because she's been doing a lot of TikToks where she gets guests from P Nation to dance with her. And the more I see it and the more I hear it, I start jamming out to it.
Yeah, Jessie's TikTok and influencer game is pretty on point. She's
got some cool dance moves and stuff.
She's got cool dance moves. She has a lot of friends. So anyone in the industry right now, that's her friend. Also because of her YouTube show. I feel like she gets a lot of great guests, and they essentially just do TikToks with her after the show. So I feel like it's a really nice entry point for a lot of the content that she's putting out on TikTok. This song is a very Jessie song, just like they said. It's got a lot of aggression. But one thing that they mentioned that I agreed with a lot was she is an excellent vocalist. And I don't think she's done a song that has highlighted that over her rapping. And it also feels like her rapping has changed since she's left her previous company. Do you remember the song Numb from her last album?
I do not.
Go check it out if you can. But what are your expectations about her as a vocalist with reference to this song, and how did her vocals come across for you?
I wasn't really paying attention to the vocals. I mean, I think the highlight of this song is the beat, because I think she's meaning for it to be more of a performance piece than a typical, like, listening to song.
Yeah, and the beat and just the overall production, I think, are like the big, like, showy parts of the song. I do want to say, like, P Nation is definitely giving like a lot of attention to Jessie, and giving her a budget, because all of her stuff is popping. Her sets and her outfits are incredible. I guess I don't know what else to say. I mean, I guess if Psy and P Nation are willing to put this much into, like, Jessie as a brand, as an artist, do you feel like this bodes well for anyone who's under Psy and P Nation moving forward?
Oh yeah, I think P Nation has been pretty good about not only taking what their artist wants into account, but also setting them up for success.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting on the show. They said that even though Warren and a lot of people felt like medium about the song, like, I wouldn't say like they hated the song, but I wouldn't say like it's like the most loved Jessie song, but the song is still probably going to be well received in Korea. How do you feel like that, like, dichotomy works with the industry and music? Because what it reflects is that Jessie has a popularity with the people that it kind of doesn't matter if the song is like the best song in the world, as long as it represents the Jessie vibe. And how do you feel like that is a representation of music and people's expectations in general?
I think it's a good piece to sort of set Jessie's brand in and build off from there. So now, like, after she has No Nana and she has this song, and she can kind of experiment from here because people know her brand and they know her style. So it's exciting.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool that Jessie's has the freedom to do essentially what she wants to do. And I also think that speaks more to just how music is received in Korea, and perhaps even like in the West. Essentially, that your image and how people perceive you and how much fun you have with your projects is, in a lot of ways, more important than the music itself. Because, I mean, the amount of love that you have for yourself is going to be reflected in the type of music you do, regardless if it's like award acclaimed, like, vocals and production and everything that, like, we like to dissect. It's like, well, honestly, like, a song like this, maybe not our favorite song, but it's probably going to do well, because at the end of the day, it's general audiences, and general audiences typically just want to feel good about what they're listening to. And however they want to associate that, whether that's with the personality of Jessie or with her actual music, I think it goes a long way with how she's built her reputation as a very likable person in entertainment.
Yeah, and I think it's good that the Korean general public is accepting more of these. Well, this is a very more Western style that she's doing, but I always sort of associated Koreans only like ballads. And even though that's not correct, it was pretty popular for a while. So I like seeing different kinds of artists achieve like this.
Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts about the song or the crew's takes on Jessie? What type of X?
I'm excited to hear more of her vocals now.
Yeah, definitely try to check out her old stuff. Her vocals are really powerful and like really good. So yeah,
So,
she's hopefully she has more vocal centric songs, but if she does more rap and aggressive stuff like this, it's honestly on brand. So I think we're gonna be fine with Jesse's content for the future. All right, so moving on to the last song this week, we have a very special song. We have Bi with Midnight Blue. Bi formerly of Icon. Therese, I'll ask you this: what is your history with Bi and Icon? How much did you know about them prior to this release and this year in general? And how did the song hit you?
I know nothing about BI or Icon. I only know that they're going to be on Kingdom, and that's exciting. Even if BI isn't, unfortunately. But um, listening to the crew talk about not only the song, but BI as an artist, it was really heartwarming that there was a little love fest going on. I think a lot of international fans can relate to feeling more for artists that are involved in Korean scandals since we aren't as, I wouldn't say judgmental, but we definitely hold them to different standards than they do.
There's a redemption story with Bi, and I think it's a very heartwarming one, like you said, because of the fact that the way it all went down wasn't the typical like scandal, like oh he was clearly in the wrong. No, it was. I mean, I don't want to diminish the situation, but it was really a misunderstanding because he was ultimately cleared of everything, and it's kind of shitty because as you can see, he's a very talented artist. He has a lot to say, and he has essentially a good heart from what he's doing as far as rehabilitating his image. And I think it's a great step with the the nature of the three songs that he put out and what he wants to do with the proceeds. Right, he wants to donate them to World Vision to kind of extend his goodwill into the world.
Yeah,
Talking
I
about
think this is
good.
the best option he could have done.
Yeah. No, I think it goes a long way with how you can always find redemption. You can always find forgiveness, right? People don't necessarily have to forget what you've done, but if you make strides and efforts to be a better person, that's really all we can ask for with our artists, but also with ourselves. And anytime that we make a mistake, so I think it's a nice lesson for the young people to attach themselves to.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about the song and the animated music video?
Uh, to be honest, I don't even remember the song or the music video. I'm not a big fan of slow songs or sad songs.
Yeah.
Um, but I listened to it again after Warren complimented his melody making, and it's very enjoyable. It's nice on the ears.
Yeah, it's really interesting that Warren like focuses on different parts of the music, right? Where for me, like I would have thought it was the visuals with the animation and the lyrics, but for Warren, I like his curveball here, where he talks about the melody and the production and how that part stood out to him. To you, when Warren talks about melodies and productions, how does that change your perspective of a song like this or music in general?
I like the composition of music, the instrumental choices, or the beat drop. The best example I can think of is Rosé's On the Ground and how her song literally grounds you, just the way it sounds without even listening to the lyrics. So it's good to hear from someone who has a little more experience or knowledge in music production and sort of be validated that yes, there's a reason they're choosing how it sounds since that's what music is. It's what you listen to. um, yeah, I just appreciate his input in there.
Yeah, and it really just opened up the perspective of people to want to learn more, right? Because I mean, K-pop itself tends to lean towards a younger demographic, and oftentimes, even if you grew up with music, you're not actively using that part of your critical thinking when you're listening to K-pop and listening to music. So when Warren does talk about that stuff, to me, like, it activates that type of awareness where it's like, even though I am currently not a music maker, I'm not a person who spends time like looking at composition and like the details about music, but it does help me appreciate more on the efforts that an artist will go to put something out that means something to them. Any closing
you gotta
thoughts?
love the layering.
Yeah, layering, exactly. Any closing thoughts on BI's Midnight and what the crew felt about the song?
That's about it for me.
Nice. Okay, so the Soju chart this week. I thought it was going to be a lot spicier, but it really was not. So
yeah, surprising.
At number 3, we have Rose with On the Ground, Brave Girls with Rollin', and Weeekly with After School. Any thoughts about how the Soju chart went down this week?
I gotta say, I'm really not surprised with the result, but I really wish that Pentagon could stay up there.
Well, not to blame Brave Girls Rollin', but to blame Brave Girls Rollin' would not be a stretch.
Yeah. And I was definitely hoping, as great of a song as it is, the reason we have these weekly charts is to showcase the new songs. And I guess none of the other new songs hit that hard, but I was hoping Pentagon could get a little more spotlight.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think it's just one of those weird weeks and weird like past couple of weeks with the viral song. Not only taking over our conversations on Discord, but taking over the main focus of K-pop and Korean entertainment. So
yeah, all those music show wins, like
that's incredible. It's incredible. It's like, what? How
has this ever happened in history?
The closest thing is EXID with Up and Down. I'm not sure if you remember that era. But yeah,
that was probably before my time of standing.
Wow, you're so young. It's like you're so young. I think that was probably the closest, where that song is an older song from the time that it came out. It came back to the charts and then it took over. This, on the other hand, is completely a viral sensation in the sense that it was a fan-made video that has now elevated the song to all the heights that it's currently at. So props to Brave Girls Rollin'. They're the nation's Nunas, and we're glad to have them. I'm still happy to see Rose still on the chart. Because,
oh yeah, great song.
And I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you want to talk to me about this on the SojuTalk Discord, feel free to message me or ping me in something, and I will talk to you about Rose all day. All right. So the Soju chart this week was, I think I'm repeating myself, but I'll do it again anyways. We have Weeekly at number 1, Brave Girls at number 2, and Rose at number 3. So thank you, crew, for that great conversation and that amazing chart. Moving on now to State of the Nation. Therese, well, before we get into it, the crew has been doing World Cups all year as a game, as a way to spark up interesting conversations, to compare things. Sometimes those things are comparable, sometimes they are not. What is your overall feeling of this direction, using a game to kind of spark up different things in the show?
I think it's interesting because this basically replaced Hot Take Herald segment previously. And I really liked that segment, if only because it was just them arguing. But surprisingly, this segment has way more arguing in it. And I think it's really fun, especially when you get to take a break from all the many myriads of K-pop and sort of argue about things that really don't matter.
I think you make an excellent point. I think sometimes we do need to take a break from debating every single detail about K-pop, and we just need to have a friendly hangout conversation. Like, we've got these bottles of soju. We're halfway through them. We're feeling some kind of way, and someone says, "Hey, I like pepperoni pizza." That's basic. I like Topping King Rich Gold Pizza. And then someone says, "What the hell is that?" Explain. All right.
Yeah,
so
I don't know about you, but at least amongst my coworkers, all of our biggest arguments were always about food.
Right? It's so relatable to think that, like, that's such a universal point of interest for everyone. Where it's like, you know what we can all relate to? We can relate to about food. You know what we can debate about? We can debate food and then not feel like we have to kill each other during the debate. As a lot of things go. Okay, so going into the State of the Nation Pizza Topping World Cup. We've got a lot of interesting matchups. We're not going to go through them all. But Therese, to you, which ones were your favorite matchups and which ones stood out to you as far as perhaps interesting results?
Definitely the barbecue chicken versus Hawaiian pizza was just devastating. I could not believe that Anita and Doug chose barbecue over Hawaiian. I feel betrayed as an islander, as a SojuTalk Nation member. Hawaiian is far superior.
Hawaiian pizza is one of those topping pizza types that it's just always a debate. I don't understand. Well, no, I do understand. It's because people just needed something to debate over. And they felt like this is the most divisive thing we could do with food. And I think this has been like a very prevalent thing for many years. And I don't understand why. But continue. Yes, which else?
Yes. After that one, I was just too upset to even pay attention. But I guess I'm pretty interested in potato pizza now, especially since I don't really like pepperoni, so I would have chosen that anyway. And the Topping King Rich Gold versus prosciutto. Wait, how do you say it?
Prosciutto.
Prosciutto and arugula. Yeah, interesting pizzas on this list.
I'm surprised a lot of the bougie pizzas that Doug mentioned didn't win. Because those are like okay, I hope I don't offend any real Italians in the world, but to me, when I think of like those bougie pizzas, those prosciutto and arugula and margarita pizzas and the white pizza, like that is more closer to like an Italian pizza flatbread. Than an actual like Americanized like, oh, put everything on this pizza. So I'm just like, oh well, like I'm surprised that none of them won, because those are probably closer to what actual pizza is supposed to be.
I don't know how many people like grew up eating close to Italian pizzas, at least in America.
I think none of us, until you get older and you get introduced to like bougie stuff. So that's, I'm like, oh, I guess Americans.
It's definitely more of a acquired taste, I think.
Yeah, because it's the simplicity, right? But no, we're Americans. We want everything on it.
I would almost argue that Hawaiian is better than all of those pizzas.
You're gonna die on this hill, and that's fine. That is totally fine.
Because it's so much comfort and sweet and salty and deliciousness. I'm still upset.
It's good. I like Hawaiian pizza. I'm Hawaiian pizza agnostic. Like, I don't understand why people dislike it so much, but I also wouldn't order it as like my first choice. But I will eat it.
Would you grab a slice if it was in like a group order on the counter?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
If that was the only if that was the only flavor pizza topping left of the group order, I will eat it because I like pizza. I'm a very simple person. I like pizza.
Cheese and bread, man.
Okay, so upon like further going further down the different rounds, we got to Topping King Rich Gold as the winner. And on first sight, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, there's just a lot of toppings. The picture looks like very appealing. And then at the very end, when I realized, oh, there's calamari on this, and not like fried calamari, but just like actual like chunks of squid on this, I was like, oh, how did this win?
Yeah, I don't understand. The potato pizza looks way better. It had mayonnaise on it.
Yeah, that potato pizza is bomb.
Yeah.
Not only the potato and mayonnaise, but did Doug say bacon was on there?
Did he? Oh man.
There's some meat on there, and I was just like, yep, that's good. That's a good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mayonnaise. So if for those who don't understand like this mayonnaise thing, it's a far lighter mayonnaise. It's, I would say, closer to oh shoot,
it's
like
like
a hollandaise
sour cream.
sauce.
Oh yeah. Hollandaise is better.
Yeah, like that would be the closer like comparison where it's
like a sour cream hollandaise.
yeah. So not exactly like mayonnaise, but it's just like a very creamy like rich-ish like dipping sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So good on fried rice, sushi,
takoyaki,
everything. Oh man.
Oh, you know what they should do next time? They should do a fried foods World Cup.
Ooh.
We are going to suggest that to the crew. If you have any other suggestions, feel free to send it over to them. But we will be doing that as soon as we finish recording.
We could just do food wars all year. I don't think we'll ever run out of foods to debate.
Right? I think if we've learned anything about the World Cup, it's that as much as we are debating these things, it unites us. Because how can you be mad about food ever?
That's true.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts about the World Cup this week?
Go get yourself some Hawaiian pizza, put some hot sauce on it, eat that shit. It's so delicious.
You know, Therese, you feel some type of way about this. It's fine. You know, I think we should all just reassess how we feel about Hawaiian pizza and give it a try this week. I think on your behalf, I will be doing that. So, yeah.
You know, May is coming up. May is, I think it's like Asian Pacific Islander History Month, and you should really honor that with some Hawaiian pizza all month.
Of course, Therese. For you, I will do that and I'll take a picture. So on that note, we will be moving on now to kind of a reformatted segment. I've been doing one-on-one interviews with our guests typically. So we had Warren as the first guest, and then Doug with a little bit of a deeper conversation about his history, and then the very well received interview I did with Anita, and now I have Therese here. So we're titling this section 1v1 with Therese. So it's going to be a 1v1 conversation about life, K-pop, and perhaps some things we don't know about Therese. So I'll start things off, very straightforward. Therese, what was your introduction to K-pop?
Okay, so I think I got recommended. Well, the first K-pop song I ever listened to was Not Today by BTS. And I think that was just like people were talking about it on YouTube, so I just pulled it up. I was like, man, this is a jam. And I added it to my playlist on Spotify. And then I think I just started getting more recommendations the more I listened to that one song. But I didn't fully like start standing BTS or any K-pop group until late 2018. So I listened to Girls' Generation, but I don't really know all the members. I love their songs. And just now, these past 2 years, I've been playing catch up and trying to get to know all the different groups and all the different famous people.
When were you aware about the depth of K-pop? So insofar as like the groups, but also the amount of dedication that fans have towards the music, the presentation, and the amount of investment and reciprocity that groups have for their fans.
It was definitely just like getting into BTS and watching their V lives, like all of their little personal videos they made to their fans, and um, you know, like at that time, late 2018, early 2019, it was pretty army heavy on Twitter, so it was pretty easy to see. And I never really saw the toxic mess that people claim Stan Twitter to be, because if you're not in the drama, all you see are people that are like, oh, hey, listen to this song. Oh, I love that song. That's my favorite song. Oh, this song is great too. Or like they'll post little videos of the members doing stupid stuff and just like sharing uh, fun media that anyone could enjoy. But unfortunately, when I was starting to get into BTS, there was also the Burning Sun scandal, and I didn't know any of the people that they were talking about. So that's when I was like, oh, I need to like figure out who's involved with this, and I started looking at other groups and being like, oh, okay. It everything seemed kind of connected. So it was interesting to find the full depth of like how people know each other from trainee days to like, oh, now they're in the same company. And outside of the scandals, it was just interesting to see musicians like coming together and working together closely, because we don't get a lot of that interaction in America. It's like Taylor Swift has her own crew, and I don't know, like Katy Perry, they have some beef for some reason, but you never see them like. At least I've never seen a lot of interactions between everyone like that.
There's an interconnectedness to K-pop as far as the artists with each other, but then the artists with the fans. And I think there's an access that K-pop and Korean entertainment give to those supporting them that Western artists and essentially artists around the globe don't have. And I think that's just ingrained a lot of with the culture and the journey that these entertainers go through to get to the point of popularity. Whether that's like the training system and years of vocal training, dance training, performance training, and then because of the access with the internet, with all the different social media platforms, with videos, you essentially get to see this journey and you connect with them. And in a way, you do form these friendships and bonds. And like you said, you see the friendships and bonds between the artist and how everyone is connected because everyone goes through a very similar path. To you, yeah. How have your friendships grown going on this path of K-pop discovery with other people?
I mean, definitely I've met a lot of friends through K-pop where I'm literally just like, I need to talk about this. Like, I need to freak out that Jungkook dyed his hair blonde, but nobody in my immediate friend circle really cared because it seems kind of trivial. But if I reach out online, especially with the SojuTalk Nation, you get that reaction that you're waiting for, which is like, oh my gosh, it looks so good, or wow, this is so amazing. So just through there, and even like in person, I met a couple of people where they would see like my BTS keychain and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I love BTS. And then we'd just talk about like, oh, well, who's your bias, or what's your favorite song? And it's just like having one common interest with someone, and the fact that that common interest has so many branches to talk about, you get to know people really well.
So it's safe to say you're Army, right?
Yes.
for those who don't know Therese on this server, she is an Army. She is one of the more vocal members of the BTS channel. She's always there. So go say hi to her. Go talk to her. She's lonely. She needs friends.
You can also just ping me and talk about how much you love BTS, and we can just talk for hours.
I guess.
Get you leveled up so you can play Minju or something.
Gosh. I will say, as a compliment to you, you are one of the less scary ARMY that I've ever met.
I think that's a misconception.
Not to say that ARMY is scary. It's just that I think with the way that you've experienced K-pop and the way that you've experienced BTS specifically, that you, like you said, you played catch up, and I think you give a different perspective of letting people in the journey with you. Do you feel like that is, well, I guess, like, how do you feel like that experience of letting people in the journey with you has made friendships that you feel like are lasting? And the way that you said you met people in real life, how have those interactions gone?
It's really simple. It's just like, I think a lot of older fans get sort of caught up in this gatekeeping that isn't necessary for their groups. If you just like, because I was a new fan, and it seems like every time I tried to talk to some of the older fans, I was either like, I was just given the information, and then there would be some sort of inside joke I didn't understand. And it was really nice to just ask questions and be like, oh, well, what is that from? Or just like educate me because I'm new to this. And usually people are pretty open when you ask them about their favorite artists. So especially with one of my real life friends, we both shared a love for BTS, but her ults were GOT7. And I had listened to them before, but I didn't really get into their music. And she just kept talking to me about them that I was like, okay, I get it now. It's something that you share with people when it's like people, when you get to know people, you start to like them more. Something like that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, it's I mean, I think it's a great reminder that K-pop, and like any other interest, it's a way to connect with other people. And I think oftentimes we associate the things that we like so heavily with our personal identities because we perhaps had negative experiences with the rest of the world or socialization with other people, and that we hold it so dearly that it becomes kind of a negative gatekeeping situation with people who don't immediately understand why you're like the way you are. And I think that's why so many people are scared of ARMY, because they do have more defense mechanisms in place based on how BTS were treated in the past. But they're not treated like that anymore. They don't really need any defense. Like, everyone knows that they're going to get destroyed, quotation marks, if they badmouth BTS. But I think in general, fans are very passionate about their artists, but I don't think they ever mean to insult people that don't know. They just, they want you to be a part of it. Yeah, and I think it goes more to the maturation of people, right? Or hopefully the longer you spend on this earth, the more that you grow as a person in age and experience, that you're able to have nuanced conversations about things you disagree on. And it's not necessarily that one person knows more than the other, because ultimately it's art, it's subjective. It's how do I express my opinions in a way that even if they're different than yours, we can come to an understanding that these are our specific perspectives with our specific histories. And I think the way that you described how you learned GOT7 is a far more natural way, and I think a far more familiar way that a lot of people experience their groups. So with going off of GOT7 and like your exposure with your friends, how have you felt like that experience of naturally learning about a group through conversation differs from a lot of like the research heavy, like YouTube watching entry points and experiences that a lot of people try to have to, say, learn everything about a group?
So I think it's interesting because I would not have liked GOT7 if I just said straight up, I don't like them. I don't want to hear any more about this. I just kept an open mind. And that's definitely important when you're trying to get to know people. Like, you want to keep an open mind about their interests. You don't want to say straight up, that's not something I want to talk about ever again. And then, like, once you have that interest, if you do end up doing that research and stuff, you develop more personal experiences with that media. So it's like, I associate this variety show with waking up and eating breakfast in the morning, drinking my coffee. It's very comforting to me. Or whereas if someone just like showed it to me as a friend and was like, oh, look at this really funny clip, it might be a little more lighthearted. And I'd be like, oh, that's funny. And then I'd never watch it again. So I don't think it's you would get into it more one way or the other. It's just definitely a different feeling.
Have you had any crossover experiences with K-pop and any other interests that you had prior to your fandom?
Like with my K-pop friends, just finding interest with each other.
Well, that, and just, do you feel like there is, well, I guess specifically with like anime and anime culture, like, do you feel like there's a crossover with the types of fans and the way that people engage with those types of mediums?
There definitely is, and I really don't know why that is a thing, but it does seem like if you like anime, you'll probably like K-pop and you'll probably like K-dramas. I guess it's just a matter of enjoying more innocent media. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but more youthful stuff, and definitely more fantastical concepts. Or and I think it's funny because recently, whenever I've been going into GameStop or FYE, other places that I would normally go for anime or video game content, I've now been seeing more K-pop stuff in there. So I think everyone's been catching on that this is a trend, and the nerd culture is expanding to even more subcultures.
Yeah, I think there's a similarity to how K-pop and video games and anime, like you said, are now all subcultures within the same type of way we engage with fandom. And I think there's an escapism to all of these, right? Where the world's kind of a shitty place sometimes. The world is hard. And yes, like it's not that we should try to like escape reality completely, but it's because like we're so I guess like so overstimulated with the ask of the world, where it is nice to find solace in something like K-pop, similarly to how someone would find solace to anime and video games, to kind of escape and separate, especially during a pandemic here, especially during a time when there's so much upheaval culturally, nationally, globally, and with just like everything that's happened with the pandemic. How has K-pop helped you get through this past year?
I literally have nothing to look forward to unless it's an album release. That is the one thing that's gotten me through most of this pandemic, because before it's like, oh, I made plans to go to this convention, or I'm going to go on this trip, or I'm going to go to a bar this weekend. But since I can't do any of that, it's literally like the only event that happens is a comeback. And that's kept me sane for sure, because otherwise it's like all of the days run together. I'm sure you understand. Everything is moving at simultaneously a slower and faster pace. Like, wow, it's already almost April.
Yeah, it's wild just how like things have moved, and yet because of the pandemic, because everyone has stayed at home for so long, it feels like you haven't gone anywhere. And I will say, thank you to the SojuTalk Nation Discord for giving us a point of contact with people. Yes, it's virtually. Yes, it's through text primarily, but it does let you know that other people are on the other side of this line. And I think
Oh
it's
yeah.
done a lot for everyone's mental health, for everyone's need for socialization, to connect with people, but also in a way that I don't think I would have anticipated 2 years ago, because now I know people from all over the world that, like, yes, I
Yeah.
could say like Reddit and chat forums in the past have done, but I don't think to this degree and this extent. Yeah, it may have been magnified by the pandemic, but at the same time, I feel like it's still a pretty safe place to get that immediate feedback from people. Is
Mhm.
that something that you've experienced as well? And I guess how has that helped replicate those social interactions that you would have normally pre-pandemic?
Well, I think Discord is definitely a godsend for the pandemic. I didn't ever use it except to play video games with some friends that don't live near me anymore. And just like learning how to use it for the nation, because it seems like a community of people that just hangs out every day. And that's kind of what it's become. It's what I visualize as, like I asked in the questions of the day, a common room that people can just come and go as they please and talk about stuff, or they can share, like watch a drama together, music videos, and it's necessary when you're just stuck at home, either by yourself or with your roommates or family, which I know can be very frustrating for some. So I'm very appreciative to this community, just allowing us to be ourselves, even if it's through an online persona.
And I appreciate you, Therese. You know, let's you can get a little gushy here. Like, I appreciate you as a friend and having gotten to know
I
you.
appreciate you too.
So to close out our 1v1 conversation about Discord and just how much you love it here, I know I said that somewhat sarcastically, but I do mean it with some
We mean it.
sincerity. What has been your favorite or most memorable Discord moment?
I love playing Jackbox with everyone. I can't point out a specific time because they all kind of run together. I will remember I was during Thanksgiving, I got on just to like hang out because I was with family at the time and it was very stressful. And I didn't want to wake the babies, so I was in my closet playing Jackbox with all of you. And I stayed up until I think like 4 or 5 a.m. Eastern time because that's when like Koala and Yokam and everyone starts waking up in Europe. So um, it's just a good time losing track of time.
Okay, first of all, you were in a closet when we were hanging out for that. Hold
I think
on.
I mentioned it briefly, and
Uh, Second, I think like half of us were drunk, so you probably did mention it and nobody remembered.
yep.
um, I also like how time zones are a thing. So part of the reason why you were up was probably because there was West Coast people who were like, "Oh, it's only 1 a.m."
Yeah, no, that happens a lot.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know what it is about Eastern time, but it's just like completely off from everyone.
it does feel like
It
Eastern
doesn't line
time.
up well with anything.
Yeah, it's like that weird nebulous space of like, oh, like it's a little too late for West Coast, but it's like really early for EU.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
For
thank
like the
you.
middle of the workday for Asia.
Yeah, it's like the middle of. Oh, God, I can't even. I, I just assume that like OP and like Cash and just the other friends from Asia and Minimax just don't sleep and that they're degenerate children who just have odd hours all the time. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this 1v1 conversation, Therese. It was very eye opening to learn more about you and just your life experiences and your personal history.
No problem.
Of course. So, our closing thoughts this week, just a quick check in, like we always do. What are you looking forward to in the world of K pop, the community, and in life next week?
Next week in K-pop, definitely IU. Isn't that tomorrow or tonight?
Yes? Question mark?
Very soon. IU.
Yeah,
Yay.
we're recording this. Yeah, we're recording this on Wednesday, March 24th. So I don't know time right now. Whatever. It's gonna be out by the time you hear this.
I'm probably not gonna stay up to listen to it, but I am so excited. I've been listening to her older albums when I'm about to go to sleep, and they're just so comforting. She's so amazing.
Yeah.
And then there's also Checkmate, which is the co-ed group. They debuted last year or the year before with the release Drum, and I really liked that, but I know this particular release has been pushed so much that I'm really curious if it'll even drop on the 29th like it's supposed to. And then Baekhyun on the 30th. And I feel like I have to mention Treasure's debut Japanese album is dropping on the 31st. Shout out to Koala, who should be here to promote it, but I will promote it for her.
Wow. Okay. That's fine. You know what, Koala, you're not here. Whatever. That Therese will talk about Treasure. I will not talk about Treasure.
You like Treasure. Everyone likes Treasure.
I'm not gonna say anything further. For me,
Kingdom.
Oh, Kingdom,
it's
yes. Very soon,
but...
in a week. Yeah, a week and a few days. Nice.
Yeah.
For me, K-pop, I'm just listening to the same songs over and over, so I have no concept of what's coming up besides IU. Of course, I'm gonna be listening to IU. Community. Oh, we're watching drama, so we're figuring out what the next drama is after Hotel de Luna. I think that is something I'm looking forward to. And in life, hopefully just to go outside more. I went hiking by the beach a few days ago.
Ooh, nice.
It was great. It was amazing. I took some pictures. Maybe I'll post them. Yeah, maybe I'll post them in Hobby. Aside from that, life is more or less the same. Just trying to figure it out, trying to find a job, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I actually went ziplining the other weekend, and it was so much fun. Just going out and doing something, it made me excited again for life, and I think I'm going to go back. But also, my roommate and I are planning a tea party this weekend. We're gonna make.
This is not a visual. It's not a video podcast, but I rolled my eyes. So hard.
You don't understand. We're going to go all out. We're making the finger sandwiches. We're gonna make scones. And we even made these little sugar cubes in the shapes of like little dinosaurs and dolphins. Just because we had like a little candy making kit. And it's just going to be such a great time.
I don't know what else to say to that. I think that's a great spot to end for the week. All right, so enjoy your tea time, Therese. Thank you for joining me this week. That was an interesting story to end on, but it's very you. So if you're on the Nation on the Discord server, ask Therese what the tea party was like, because I'm sure she'll rave about it to you for hours on end.
Sometimes you just gotta make your own excitement.
No truer words. All right, so thank you for listening to the SojuTalk Nation Podcast, episode 11. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify or your preferred podcast platform, and continue the conversation on the SojuTalk Kpop Podcast Discord. This has been the SojuTalk Nation for Therese. This is Crispy. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.